Thanks everybody for driving by. I had a few viewers that came by and then said absolutely nothing to me about my microphone being turned off. So, thank you for the support, everybody, for not telling me that my microphone was muted. That was terrific. I have such wonderful viewers. I really do. Anyway, so today I thought I would talk about an issue that was posted before. It was posted by somebody that I know on LinkedIn, and he solicited advice. He solicited, some answers to kind of his question or what my thoughts were on it. And so I thought I would do that, but instead of doing a post on it on LinkedIn, I thought, why not just do a whole video? Just do a video response and kind of let him know what it is that I'm thinking. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about coronavirus and your job in the time of coronavirus. Like if you've lost your job and you're not getting hired, you're not getting any experience, you're not able to get any interviews, what are some of the reasons that might be happening? What can you do about it? Not just about coronavirus, but this is kind of advice in general about how to get a job. And some of this I've said before. Some of it I'm going to maybe just reiterate in a different way that maybe you'll like. But one way or the other, I hope that we find some good information for you. So let's do this. Let me do the intro, shall we? Okie dokie. So let's see if we can do it this time around without, now that my microphone is actually hot and you can hear me. So what I kind of want to talk about, again, is going to be the coronavirus, but more specifically, what do you do if you're having difficulty finding a job during the coronavirus pandemic? So this question comes from Daniel F., and Daniel posted this up on LinkedIn, and like I said, he asked me to comment on it and give him my feedback and opinion, so I thought I would do that in this video. His question is, our world changed with COVID-19, and that affects and has affected decisions for everyone. There are people out of work now for 6 to 7 months because of this pandemic, including me. In 2017, I started an adventure and thought that a web development bootcamp would be enough to move forward in development. Due to coronavirus, I don't have the time to gain the 3 to 10 years of experience or to get a BS in computer science. My previous work experience includes audio-video production, photography, sales, data work, medical billing and revenue cycle, medical claims analyst, and tech support. If you have any opportunities available, please reach out to me. I know there is an employer that would love my diverse skill set and me being an awesome multitasker. Hashtag ready to rock, hashtag ready to work. So I'm seeing this up on LinkedIn quite a bit. A lot of people are posting that they are unemployed right now due to coronavirus. So this is not an uncommon question that I've been seeing. And I thought probably a good place to start would be to talk about, first of all, I think what Daniel here is doing is the right thing. In posting online and on Facebook and on wherever else, whatever other social media you can, to let people know that you're looking, right? And more specifically, what I really would think that it's a good idea to do is to focus on the opportunities, focus in on relationships, building relationships with people. For me personally, I didn't get this galvanized job just because I applied, right? I actually got it because I knew somebody that worked for Galvanize. And those personal relationships cannot be overstated. Knowing people is really the best way for you to find a way to get a job. Okay, building those personal, professional relationships with people is the number one way I think you find valid work, right? Not just like, oh, I'm just going to go do work, but actually knowing that the environment that you're going to is going to be good. So personal relationships are really, really important to build up on. And something I kind of want to talk about in that sphere specifically is that there's a lot of incentive for people that work for companies to actually connect you with the company they work for. So just for example, the Galvanize where I work for a long time, and I think we actually still have it as a program, you get a bonus if you recommend somebody and they stay on with the company for a while. So there's a lot of incentive in some of these cases where businesses are looking for good people to hire. So they're incentivizing their own employees to find people to work for the company. So that's definitely something that you should be aware of, because that means they have incentive to refer you. And so the more personal relationships you can build and tell people, hey, I'm looking for work, the better off you're going to be. And using your social networking platforms is a really good way of doing that. Reaching out to people that you know personally that are in the industry, or finding out, and even if it's just go to, say, go to the Facebook pages of the various organizations, or LinkedIn or Reddit or whatever your preferred social media platform is, and go to their pages and post on there and talk to people on there and comment and become a knowledgeable person about that company. Because then you're going to start to build some of those relationships. Even if it's just an online presence, you're still going to get to know a little bit about the company and what they're for and what they're about. And they're going to get to know you, right? They're going to get to know who you are a little bit, maybe not all that well. I mean, they're probably not going through your Facebook page and looking at all the dog pics you've been posting, but they will have gotten to know your name a little bit because they may have seen it in the comments. Okay. So building those relationships, personal relationships with people that work for the company, is really the best way, the number one way in which you're going to be able to find work. So yeah, there's that. And then also the next thing I kind of want to talk about was make sure that if you are willing to relocate, that you are doing your job searches on these different websites. Make sure that you are posting for very high tech areas, right? Very technical cities, right? San Francisco, Seattle, Austin, Phoenix, New York, right? Or Atlanta is also growing in the tech field. So find out, look at those cities that are very tech heavy, because that's where the highest number of postings are actually going to be. And not only that, but even if you're not looking to actually relocate, still go to those places, because unfortunately, one of the things that quite often happens with these websites that kind of post their job postings is they still have to tie the company to a city, even if the job posting itself is remote. So when you go on and you do a search for a job, if you're not specifying, places like Austin or San Francisco or Seattle, they may have remote postings, but they still have to say that they're based out of those different cities. And if you're still putting your local town in for your search, you're not going to see the remote positions that are open for those other cities. So make sure you're doing that. When you're doing those job searches, make sure that you are looking for remote positions that are from those larger city areas. Okay, that's going to help you out and find a much larger set of places to go. And Denver is another good one too. Denver is starting to grow. Salt Lake City is starting to grow. There's a lot of tech industry companies that are growing in all these different cities. So just picking major metropolitan cities like Chicago. I wouldn't say Detroit. Detroit, I haven't really heard all that much in the tech field, but Chicago definitely. New York, Atlanta, Austin right now is absolutely booming. San Francisco, Seattle, those are your two traditional outlets, I think, right now for tech. All of that is just really good. Pick those cities on those job searching sites, and because even though you may not actually have to relocate to those cities, they're posting remote jobs, remote positions, but they're saying that the city of origin are those cities. So make sure you're doing that. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about was maybe this is kind of an opportunity. This might be an opportunity for you to start your own revenue stream. So it may not, obviously, when you're starting a business, you don't necessarily, depending upon the business you get into, I think, if you open up a brand new bar or something, you can probably get a pretty good amount of clientele that kind of what's this new place? And they all kind of rush in, a grand opening, and you get a bunch of people that come in. But if you're starting a tech business, like, you have to kind of find clients, you have to figure out what your niche is, what kind of development work are you doing. If you're doing development, maybe you're doing IT support, whatever that is, it can take some time to develop the clientele to really make it your own, professional business. So, but now might be the time to start doing that, right? While you have the time, while you are in a down period in your career, now would be the best time to apply. If that is something you want to do, apply as much effort as you can into growing that business and doing something with it, okay? And thinking, strategizing, putting a business plan together, maybe filing for your license, right? All of that stuff is good to do. And so now take advantage of this. This might be an opportunity. This might be the opportunity you've been needing in order to do that thing that you've always wanted to do. And again, it can take some time for those revenue streams to really pick up. Another thing you can do is like write blogs. Write. If you are putting out a lot of blog posts, it kind of helps to build your resume, because you can actually put your site down as, this is my set of blogs, and, it can look good on a resume. Same thing with like GitHub repositories. If you're posting a lot on GitHub, creating projects or contributing to open source, posting your GitHub link on your resume so that they can go check it out. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a job because of your GitHub profile, but it can quite often get your foot in the door. And it's the same thing with blog posts or YouTube or wherever else you're putting yourself out there, but put yourself out there, right? You have to make your face known. I get a lot of job offers. I shouldn't say offers, but a lot of interest into my availability for employment through places like LinkedIn and my YouTube channel, etc. Simply because I'm out there, right? So you have to put yourself out there. You have to make sure that you are highly visible, and that you're making your presence known whether you're working or not. That's the only way that you can continue to stay employed, really. So that's kind of going back to what I was originally saying about, like, Dan, you're doing the right thing here and posting your information on LinkedIn, saying you're looking and available. You should be posting pretty much every day, right? Your downtime right now, you're not working. You should be spending as a bunch of your time posting, making yourself out there, right? Submitting your resume, like, that should be your job. Your job should be making yourself highly visible and applying to as many jobs as you possibly can to narrow down and find the one that you want and go through the interview process. I'm going to talk about the interview stuff a little bit later here, because I have a lot to discuss about that, about the resume to personal interview to tech interview. But yeah, just make sure that you view this time. Just because you're not working doesn't mean you just kick back and relax, put your heels up. You need to be putting your resume out. It should be a 9-to-5 job, just looking for work, okay? Because that's how you have to view it. And that may be not just the resumes, but also posting on blogs, making a YouTube channel, posting on Facebook, finding the companies, etc., that you want to go work for, building those personal relationships with people, etc. That's what you should be spending your time doing, because that's how you're going to get the job. Okay. Coding to open source projects. I kind of talked about that before. Start your own project, right? So not just your own business, but maybe you can actually create something and then sell it. And then that becomes an additional revenue stream. Once you do get a job, it can be an additional revenue stream that you could put towards your savings, right? And then if you do happen to lose your job again, you have the money coming in, you have a little bit of a nest egg that can kind of support you for a few months or so while you're doing another job hunt. That's that sort of thing. So yeah, doing your own project work, selling your own products. For me, it's YouTube, right? For me, doing these channels, the YouTube channels, is kind of my side project that helps bring in some revenue and allows me to save up a little bit of money and do those kind of things, so that if I did lose my job, I would have something to kind of support me and my wife for a little bit while I am looking for work, so that I can make sure that I find a job that I really want, and I don't just have to take the first one that comes along. Okay, so now I want to talk about something called the theory of constraints. If you've never heard of the of this thing called theory of constraints, the theory of constraints. If you've never heard of theory of constraints, it's a very interesting way to look at workflows. And when I think about applying for a job and trying to get a job, that is a workflow. So from the point of writing your resume to submitting your resume to doing the one-on-one interview with somebody in HR typically, to maybe a a manager for a organization, to then maybe a technical interview, right? There's all these different stages and it's a workflow. There's all these different steps that you have to take. Well, the theory of constraints basically says, look for the bottlenecks. Look for where the stream is kind of dying off. And whatever the step was before that happened is your constraint. Whatever the step is before the shortage, the bottlenecking, is the constraint in your workflow. Okay, so taking this and applying it to resumes, or I should say to the job application process. So if you are, I'm just going to break it down into three basic things. You got your resume submissions, you've got your HR interviews for, one-on-ones, and then you have your tech interviews. And then you might have another one that's with the manager or whatever. But those first three things, resume, personal one-on-one interview, and then tech interview. If you are submitting your resumes everywhere and not getting any responses back, right? You're not getting any interviews lined up, then that probably means there's something missing on your resume. And you should look at your resume to see what are the problems with this resume. What is the constraint about my resume, right? What is it about my resume that is not getting me more interviews? And when you look at that, typically the advice that I give people, because this is where I think most people fall a little bit short, is in the mentioning of their skills up front in the resume. I think a lot of people put their work experience first, which can read fairly lengthy and not necessarily always tell you what it was that the skills are that they acquired while they were doing the job. And those skills don't always match up to whatever the skills were that the job application was looking for. So what I will often do is I will look at my resume and I will look at the job posting, and anywhere that as much as I possibly can, I want to make sure that whatever they're saying the skills are that are necessary for the job are at the top of my resume as well, so that they can look at my resume and look at the skills posting and see that they're a match. Because that's what HR people are doing, right? They've got like 5 to 10 seconds to look at your resume and see if you're a good match. They're not going to be wanting to look through a lengthy job history to see if your skills match up to the skill requirements. If you could just list out your skills right away, then that's going to give them a quick little, oh, yep, this person matches all these things. Let's put them in the accept pile or later review pile or whatever it is, however they're filtering it. So make sure you're putting those skills towards the top of your resume. Typically, I do like an objective statement, like this is what I want. I want to work in a good culture. I want to have a good team working environment. Whatever it is that I'm kind of thinking about for the day for my resume. But then right after that come my list of skills, because I want to make sure that those match up to the job requirements. So there's that. And then the other thing to do is make sure that you are posting things like certificates or external activities or projects, GitHub, for example, your blog or your website, right? All those extra little nifty things. And typically, like my employment history, I like to put it towards the bottom. And that may not be what everybody tells you to do. You may want to consult a resume expert. There are consultants out there that look at resumes and give advice and feedback on this. So I'm not going to pretend I'm the best at this, but I definitely think that skills need to be at the top. And then typically I like job histories towards the end with maybe some like certificates gained or, awards that are won. Those can kind of come towards the end. But yeah, skills go at the top. Okay, so let's say you have a great resume and you are getting to the interview. You're getting a lot of interviews, but the problem is you're never quite getting to the tech interview. So like you meet with the HR person, but then you never hear back. You may be wondering why that is. And there's something that goes on here during these HR interviews that it's more and more common, and I find it fairly annoying, that is, the HR person is looking to try to determine your interest in the company. So you need to know things like how many different locations are there? Which states are they in? What are the different product lines that they offer? What are their working hours? All of these kind of, I wouldn't say mundane, but they're not really all that important details about the company sometimes. Like, I don't think that they're always all that important or interesting. But knowing those things are what the HR person is really looking for, right? They want to know your level of interest in the company. And if you are approaching this job application in terms of, well, it's just for the money, it's just, I'm just looking for a job, I think that's where most people are on the spectrum, right? Like where they are and what they're looking for in a job is like, I just don't really care. I just want money because I need to sustain myself and my family. But that's not the attitude that the HR person is looking for. They want to make sure that you are fully invested and interested in this company. And so you need to go and do your research about the company you're about to interview with. And I mean, I've had personally where I've been, my interview didn't get past the HR person because I didn't know enough about the company that I was interviewing for. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you invest. Make sure you look at their website. You read through things. You find out what their product lines are. You try to find out what it is that you'll be doing. And then ask those questions too while you're actually in the interview. This is another thing that I'm constantly trying to emphasize with people is when you're in an interview, whether it be a technical interview or the personal one-on-one interviews, try as much as you can to make it about them, right? Try to ask questions of them or about them. Get them talking about themselves or their work or the company, right? You want to try to get information and gather information from them. And you're doing this for two reasons. Number one, when you can make somebody talk about themselves and make them feel good about themselves for talking about themselves, you're going to be making a really good impression on them. They're going to remember you because you made them feel good. Typically, interviews are about feelings. I hate to say it, but that's kind of what it is. It's about feelings. And can you make that person feel like you're, number one, very interested in the company, which by asking questions, you seem very interested in the company, right? And asking questions about them and who they are and what their job and workflow is and, what are they doing when they're outside of business hours? Like those, you obviously don't want to go too far in the personal realm, right? That could definitely be a negative, but you want to find out the culture of the organization and what it is, the line of work and the company. What is it that they do? If you don't already know, then you need to be asking a lot of questions to try to get some familiarity and understanding. So you're doing that again for two reasons. Number one is so that you can identify and understand more about the company and make them feel good about your interest in the company, right? To make them feel good because they've been talking about themselves and their organization and what it is that they're doing. The second reason why this is really good, this is a really good strategy, is because the more information you can extract from them about the company and the culture, the more that you will really understand whether or not it's a good fit for you. This is something that I'm constantly giving advice about, is the level of commitment is not symmetrical, right? The level of commitment the company is making to you is very small compared to the level of commitment you are making to the company. You are making a lifetime commitment, right? You're saying kind of almost like a marriage in a way, not quite a marriage. It's not really a contract, but you're basically saying, I'm looking at you as an employment opportunity that I might attach myself onto for the rest of my life. Like this, I'm hoping that this is the one career, the one company that I plan on working for. That's the level of commitment I want to make to this company, which means I need to know a lot about that company before I make that commitment. This is not if I was to compare this, if I was to make this an analogy about the dating scene, right? Would you go interview, would you go on a single blind date with somebody and then immediately decide to get married to them? There are people that have done that, but I don't think that that's quite advisable. You want to know more about what it is you are going to be committing to. The level of commitment that HR person has that is interviewing you, they don't really have any commitment, right? That person specifically, they don't really have any commitment to you. They're just interviewing you. They're just asking you questions and trying to gauge your cultural fit, right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to see if they have good feelings about you. And that's not a commitment to you. They're not making a commitment to you, but you are making a commitment to them potentially, right? You're saying, yes, I want to go on a second date with you. I do want to pursue a relationship with this company. So you need to be really asking the right kind of questions in that interview to see if this is something you actually want to pursue so that you don't waste your time and everybody else's time. And what I typically see time and time again with this is people that are so enamored with the idea of getting a job, just a job. It doesn't matter which company, there's an opportunity for me to get a job here. I'm going to say and act and do whatever I have to in order to get approved by this HR person to get on to the next stage. And that is not the right attitude to take. You need to be taking the attitude of, this is a commitment that I'm looking to be making a lifetime commitment of. And if at this stage I can already identify the things that are red flags, then I shouldn't be wasting my time or your time. I shouldn't be wasting the company's time. I shouldn't be wasting my time. What is it that I want out of this job, and find out what those things are. You should be asking the majority of those questions. You should be asking them the questions because you are making the commitment to them. They are not making the commitment to you. That's really, really important. I cannot say that enough times. So, okay. Going back to the theory of constraints. We've got resumes that are going out, right? The resumes are really good. You're getting a lot of these interviews. If you're getting a lot of those one-on-one interviews, then you can ask a lot of those kind of questions to find out, is this a good fit? Do you really want to do this job? And then you should be getting, if you've been doing those interviews correctly, because you've been, boning up on what the company is, what their product lines are, what they do, what kind of job it is that you'll be doing, right? You've asked all the right questions during those interviews. Then you've been giving them good signals and good feels. Then you finally move on to the tech interview. If you're not getting to the technical interview, right? If you're not getting to the tech interview, then that means the constraint is in your personal one-on-one interview, right? And that's where you can, like we were just talking about, ask the right questions, make sure you're doing the commitment, etc. So if you do get into the tech interview, but you're not getting the job, so if you're getting a lot of tech interviews but not getting the job, that probably means because your technical skills are not actually what they're looking for, right? You're not quite matching up to their level of expectations on your skills. So take this as an opportunity to find out what those skills are. What are the things that you are missing, right? Is it you need more Java experience, you need more C# experience, you need more .NET knowledge, you need .NET Core knowledge, you need more entity framework knowledge, you need more JavaScript knowledge or React or Angular, whatever the skills or questions are that you're finding you're bombing on and not really able to answer. This is your opportunity to find out what those things are, and then keep track of, keep a catalog of those things, and then go research them, go learn about them, take Pluralsight videos or YouTube courses or YouTube videos, right? Pluralsight courses or YouTube videos or Udemy or whatever, go find out what those areas are that you are missing and track them and go learn and educate yourself about them. And also take the opportunity, I think, during this downtime to learn other languages. This is something, while you're making your applications to these other businesses, don't be afraid to apply for organizations that say that they have a language or a stack that you don't actually know, but you're still going to apply. You might just very well get to the technical interview portion so that you can learn about what those technologies are that you need more of. Okay. But typically I like to just look and see what are the different skills that are required out there on the job applications. Is there a lot of C#? Is there a lot of Java? Is there a lot of JavaScript work or Node or Ruby or PHP or Python? Find out what the majority of those jobs are and then go learn those languages, go learn those frameworks. And quite often what will happen is when you're doing that, you actually learn something that is tangential to the language you already know. So just for an example here, when I was learning C# and learning about Lambda expressions and func of T and action of T and events and all sorts of stuff, I still only kind of partially understood it, but it never really quite clicked for me. I could write some of the code, but I didn't really understand it very well. But then when I really started digging into JavaScript and ECMAScript 6 and higher, then all of a sudden, a lot of the Lambda expression, they call it the fat arrow in JavaScript, but those Lambda expressions suddenly made a lot more sense to me in Java and C Sharp, right? Java with streams and C Sharp with link. Because I started to do JavaScript, I learned about C Sharp and Java. So even though you may be learning a completely different language, your understanding about what's going on with some of the other languages that you may have a lot of knowledge about, that can really start to grow. You can start to get even a better understanding of it. So when you're going into those technical interviews, you should be looking for those opportunities. What am I missing, right? What are the pieces of this that maybe I don't understand as well? And then sometimes you'll find that there's a tangential language out there that can help you learn about those things. So if you're looking for functional style programming paradigms, then maybe you need to go look at Scala. Maybe that's where you want to go. Or Lua. I think Lua, L-U-A, that's another language I think that's a little bit more on the functional side. But whatever it is, right, you need to be looking at these different languages and see there might be some languages out there that can train you on your field of expertise in ways you didn't understand. But these technical interviews are where you can identify where those blind spots are and what you need to learn. And then find out what some of those languages are that maybe they're advertising for that you don't necessarily know, and you need to go bone up on those. This is an opportunity, right? You should be looking at it as an opportunity each step of the way to find out what your constraint is and come up with a plan of how to tackle that constraint and get over it and become more eligible. All right, so that's basically, I have one more thing. One more thing. If you guys have any questions, if you guys are viewing right now and you've got some questions about this, please feel free to drop it in the comments. In the chat right now. If you are checking in, afterwards, after this has been recorded, and you have some questions about this topic, feel free to drop those in the comments. But for those of you who are watching live right now, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the live chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. But the final thing that I kind of wanted to talk about here was don't be afraid to take on a non-tech related job. If you are really in desperate need of work, then go find work. Don't make it about the industry. I understand this is the industry you've chosen. This is where you want to work. But the first thing that you need, the highest priority is just making sure that you are in a safe space, right? Making sure that you have a job, that you have a roof over your head, right? What they often say, don't make perfect the enemy of the good. Okay, I think you can quite often try to pigeonhole yourself, or I should say, that's not really the right word. You can constrain yourself, I'll use that word, too tightly to this job set, this career, this skill set, that you lose sight and lose track of the fact that you just need a roof over your head. And then you can work on the other things later. You can work on building your technical skills, or fixing your resume, or doing better HR interviews. You can do those skills on top of having a job. But if you don't have a job, you're going to be desperate, right? If you don't have a job now, you're going to be desperate to take on the first thing that comes down the road. And that is not a good situation. You're setting yourself up for complete abject misery if you are just trying to take on the first job that comes available to you. Make sure you are picking the jobs that you really want to work. And the only way you can do that is to make sure you are in a safe space now. You are comfortable, you're earning enough of a living, okay? You've got your bills covered, you've got a roof over your head, you've got food and water, right? You've got your internet, you've got your TV, whatever those creature comforts are that you absolutely require. Make sure you have those things so that you are living comfortably. That way, when you make this pivot towards tech, you don't feel required to take the first job that comes along. That is where I think most people make their mistakes. They wait until they have lost their jobs to go find work. And that is the wrong situation to be in. And I'm going to say this. First, I want to preface this with, I am very happy with my job at Galvanize. So if I have anybody watching from Galvanize, I want you guys to fully understand. I love working for Galvanize. I have zero intention of leaving. I don't. I honestly can't see myself doing any other job than what I'm doing. It's just such a. I can't say enough good things about it. I don't want to go on forever, but there's no reason for me to leave because this is the job I've always wanted, and I am doing it. It actually, I shouldn't say that it's what I always wanted. It's better than what I always wanted. I always wanted to be an instructor, but the job that I have gives me so many different luxuries and traveling and, taking my wife with me, just more than I could have possibly have asked for. So I have absolutely no desire at all to leave where I'm going, and I make enough money that makes us very happy. So that being said, the best time for you to be looking for work is when you have a job. You already have a job. That is when it is the best time for you to be looking for other work. Because then at that point, you are not desperate, right? Going back to the dating scene analogy, right? You don't want to take on the first girl or guy or whatever it is you're dating. Sorry, I don't want to offend. But you don't want to take on the first person that is willing to accept you, right? That isn't necessarily the right thing to do. You want to build up a relationship. You want to really understand who this person is and try to look through all the red flags and make sure that you're a good fit. You don't want to be desperate, right? That's the word that we hear all the time, and it actually turns for guys dating women, it turns women off. And I think it does the same thing too. If women are dating men, but the women appear desperate, guys can be turned off of the desperate females. So it's kind of the same thing in the job scenario. If you are doing your interviews and you appear desperate because you are desperate, you may not get the good feels that you're looking for, right? You may not get people that are liking who you are and your cultural fit with the organization because clearly you're just doing this because you're desperate for money. And that's not really what we're looking for. So be careful about that. That's why I'm saying the best time for you to be looking for work is while you already have a job. Okay? And sometimes I think you can get too focused on, I'm safe, I'm comfortable, I've got what I need, I don't need to move anywhere. I'm kind of in the danger zone myself in that regard because I have absolutely no desire. I'm not looking. I don't plan on looking. And I feel so comfortable with where I'm at and what I'm doing that I have absolutely zero desire to even look. It'd be just a waste of my time because I know that there's nothing better out there for me. Okay? That's a very rare scenario. I fully acknowledge and admit that what I am doing right now is so incredibly rare that I would never tell anybody to think that this is going to happen for them. Right? Constantly be looking for the best job that you can possibly get. And that means you have to be looking while you're still working because then you won't be desperate to take on the first job that comes at you. So that's my advice. Make sure you are employed while you are working. Okay? And if you are not working, if you're not working, do your best, do your due diligence to make sure you're not taking the first thing that comes along just because you need the money. It sounds like, and that's a hard thing to do. I totally get it. Like that may not be what everybody can do. And that's why I'm saying as a fallback, don't just take a job in the industry. Take a job that you think you can do that will support yourself and won't make you feel miserable while you still pursue your actual end goal, right? Go pursue your IT industry. So if you have to go work, I don't care if you're flipping burgers at McDonald's. If that can pay your bills, go do that, okay? Don't force yourself into doing a job you don't want to do or a cultural fit that you're trying to make a commitment to, right? I want to commit to this company. I want a lifetime partnership with this organization. That should be your goal, especially since this is the career you're trying to land yourself in. So make sure it is a good fit, not just for them, but for yourself. And that's where I'm going to go back to, when you're in that HR interview, that's the best time to be asking those questions and be looking for those red flags. And then also when you're in the tech interview, because when you're in the tech interview, you're going to be talking to people that are doing or associated with the job that you will be doing. So that is a golden opportunity for you to really find out, is this the position that you actually want? The worst thing that happens, and I've seen this happens in companies all the time, and it's really, really frustrating, is when I am interviewing somebody and we go through the interview, everything's going great. I think that you're really interested in the job. And then then we post or we give you a job offer, right? We propose a job offer to you, and then you decline, not because of the money, but because you just didn't think it was the right fit. Okay, why did it take all the way until that stage, all the way at the very end where we're putting in an offer for you to figure out that this wasn't what you wanted? That means you were dragging us, you were kind of wasting our time and wasting your own time, right? You were giving everybody hope that this might be a good partnership, but you were just kind of wasting everybody's time. Now, I get that you're not always going to know until the end. I totally get that. But that usually means you weren't asking the right questions and you weren't thinking about things in a logical way early on, right? Like when it comes down to it, when it comes down to brass tacks, are you really wanting to do this job? You should try to know that as early in this process as possible so that you don't end up wasting your time on things that you don't care about. And I think that really comes from this desperation. I think most people just go along for as long as they can with the job opening and the interview process until the very, very end, and then they make their decision about whether or not they want the job. And that's the wrong time to be doing that. Try to find out as early as you can, is this something you want to be doing? Are these the type of people you want to be working for? And if in the middle of the technical interview, you realize you're asking the questions, you should be asking them the questions about, okay, what kind of technology stacks are you guys working with? What kind of CI/CD pipelines do you do? Tell me a little bit about your Scrum process. Are you guys doing Scrum? Are you doing Agile? Are you doing extreme programming? Are you doing Lean? Are you doing Kanban board? Like, try to understand. Tell me about your day. Tell me what your day is like. How do you guys manage your backlog? Do you guys do burn down charts? What do you guys track your velocity? Do you guys have a Scrum Master, or do you guys have your own Scrum Masters? Tell me a little bit about your self-organization. Do you feel like your team is self-empowered and isn't really reporting to anybody specifically? Who's managing the backlog? Who's deciding which stories are the ones that go to the top? Who's doing the story pointing? How do you guys do your story pointing? Like, all of those technical questions you should be asking them about to find out what the job would be like. And then if those things don't match your expectations, or you don't think that that would be a good fit, tell them, okay, I'm sorry, I'm glad that I got to this point, but this really doesn't sound like the job for me. Okay, I may be a perfect fit for you guys in terms of skill wise, but the way you guys go about your business, the way you guys manage the backlog, or the way that you guys work as a team, or I don't like the fact that you guys are doing 6-month deployments. Whatever those things are, right? You should be able to identify those things and say, even in a tech interview, you know what? Even though I passed the tech interview, I don't think this is the right kind of fit. Because if it's not the right kind of fit, I'm going to be miserable working for this company, but I'm going to feel obligated because I made a commitment. And that's the thing you have to remember. You are making the commitment to them. They are not making the commitment to you. So you have to approach your interview process like that. Are you willing to make a lifetime commitment to these people? And if you're waiting until the very, very end, right? You're going to, if you could know after 2 dates that this other person is not who you want to marry, you should cut it off, right? So that you don't waste anybody's time. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste their time. You don't continue to date the person. You don't continue to give everybody hope, because all that you're doing is you are inevitably leading to disaster, because at some point you might end up married and not like it, right? You might have been terrible, and now you have to do a divorce and you got to divvy up the finances and stuff. That's just a terrible situation. So don't keep letting yourself on in the job opportunity area either, right? Take these opportunities. Each one of these interviews is basically a date, right? It's like an opportunity to know about who it is you are planning on possibly making a commitment to, because you are the one making a commitment to them, okay? All right, I think that's going to do it. Anybody have any questions? I'm kind of looking up on the chat. I got a few viewers here, but nobody's saying anything in the chat. I'm going to give it a few seconds here. Hopefully you guys learned something out of this. I hope that it was enjoyable and you guys got something out of it. Again, if you are, I forgot to mention this. If you're looking for some sort of schedule of when I'm going to be doing these videos, just know that it's not something that I actually know, because my job is dynamic in terms of the hours that I work. Some days I'm up early and working. Some days I'm up later and working till late at night. So I don't really know when it is that I'm going to be able to do one of these videos. So make sure that you subscribe and you hit the little bell icon next to the subscription to make sure that you get notifications whenever I'm going to be doing one of these. And what I try to do is post up a schedule. When I'm about to do one, I try to give about a 15-minute notice and do a little scheduled thing, or maybe 30 minutes or however long I've got, to just kind of post it up there that I'm going to be doing one of these. And you should get a notification then that I'm about to go live, that I'm about to do one of these. So if that's kind of something you're interested in, make sure that you are subscribing and you're hitting the notification bell in order to make sure that you are getting notified when I'm going live. Okay, so despite having some viewers, it doesn't look like anybody has any questions. I hope that I just basically rounded up. I hope that basically means the information was so good and complete and comprehensive that nobody could possibly have any other questions. I doubt that highly. I'm pretty sure people have questions. Again, if you are watching this video late and just watching the recording instead of me live, you can still post your questions down in the comment section below this video. So if you want to ask me a question, then maybe it's a good one. I might even cover it in another video online just like this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video stream today. Thank you so much for joining me and watching this video. I hope that you guys did like it. And like I said, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Until then, I will talk to you guys later and have a great day.